The people history calls savage raiders may have accidentally built modern Europe. We remember the fire, the plunder, the terror of the northern seas. But behind the raids lay trade routes, treasuries, and new kingdoms. From Baghdad to Baltic, from tax rolls to towering stone castles. How did the most feared raiders become the architects of nations? The story begins not with swords, but with ships and silver. Viking traders opened routes the Mediterranean world had ignored for centuries. Their vessels linked frozen northern harbors to the markets of the east. Along Russian rivers, they carried furs, amber, and enslaved captives south. In distant Baghdad, Arab silver flowed north into Viking hands. Silver dirhams from the Caliphate have been found buried in Swedish fields. These coins prove a trade line stretching thousands of miles across continents. The town of Hedeby became a booming hub of northern commerce. Merchants weighed silver on scales rather than counting minted coins. Birka in Sweden connected Baltic goods to eastern river routes. This was Europe's first true free market, spanning many peoples. But wealth from trade was matched by wealth taken through raids. The attack on Lindisfarne in 793 shocked all of Christendom. Longships could strike deep inland along Europe's great rivers. No coastal or river town felt safe from the sudden northern sails. Frankish kings faced a terrible choice: fight endlessly or pay to make them leave. In 845, Paris itself was besieged by a fleet of Viking longships. Charles the Bald paid thousands of pounds of silver to spare the city. This tribute became known across the north as Danegeld, the Danegeld. To pay it, kings needed to gather silver from every corner of their realm. This forced the birth of organized nationwide taxation systems. Clerks recorded who owed what, creating Europe's first tax rolls.
This parchment details
In England,
the livestock tax
the Danegeld became a permanent, recurring national tax. These bureaucracies outlived the raids and shaped future governments. The threat from the sea was quietly rebuilding the machinery of the state. But taxes alone could not stop the raids from Europe's rivers. Longships needed only shallow water to reach the heart of a kingdom. Old wooden walls could not stop these fast and cunning attackers. So Frankish rulers ordered fortified bridges built across the rivers. Charles the Bald blocked the Seine to trap raiding fleets. These river defenses were the seeds of a new stone architecture. Across Europe, wooden forts slowly gave way to towering stone keeps. Local lords raised castles to guard their lands from sudden raids. Each fortress became a center of power, protection, and control. The age of the castle was born from the shadow of the longship. But castles alone did not reshape the map of medieval Europe. Some Vikings came not to raid, but to stay and build. In 911, a Viking leader named Rollo struck a bold bargain. The Frankish king granted him lands at the mouth of the Seine. In return, Rollo would defend the coast from other raiders. This land became known as Normandy, the land of the Northmen. The settlers quickly adopted the Frankish tongue and faith. Within a generation, raiders had become Christian lords. They learned to fight on horseback, forging a new elite. These were the Normans, soon feared across all of Europe. In 1066, Duke William of Normandy set his eyes on the throne of England. He gathered a fleet and army, descendants of Vikings, to cross the Channel. At Hastings, William's cavalry shattered the English shield wall. The victory made a Viking bloodline the new masters of England. William crowned himself king, uniting two peoples under one rule. To hold his new realm, he built stone castles across the land. The Tower of London rose as a symbol of Norman power and order. To tax his kingdom, William ordered a great survey of all he ruled. This became the Domesday Book, a record of every field and household. It was the most detailed government census Europe had ever seen. Yet the Normans were only one branch of a vast Viking web reaching far beyond Europe. From the Baltic shores, Norse traders pushed deep into the eastern rivers. These eastern Vikings became known as the Russ, sailing rivers toward the south. They dragged their ships overland between rivers to open new trade paths. Their routes linked northern forests to the rich markets of the east. Silver from distant Baghdad flowed north into Scandinavian hands. Thousands of these coins have been found buried across Viking lands. In exchange, the North sent furs, amber, honey, and enslaved people. This trade turned small settlements into thriving market towns. Places like Hedeby and Burka became bustling hubs of commerce. At the heart of this web stood the Baltic city of Novgorod, a Rus trading power. From there, ships followed the great rivers all the way to Constantinople. The Byzantines called this shining metropolis Miklagard, the great city. There, Norse warriors served the emperor as his elite Varangian guard. These northern axemen became the most trusted bodyguards of the empire. Some carved their names in runes deep inside the Hagia Sophia itself. Their wealth and stories flowed back north across thousands of miles. This vast reach turned scattered Rus settlements into a single realm. From Novgorod and Kiev rose the first great state of the Eastern Slavs. The very name Russia echoes these Norse Rus who ruled its early years. But the Vikings did not only reach east, their raids struck deep into the Frankish heartland. Longships slipped up the Seine, striking Paris again and again. The Frankish kings could not stop these swift river attacks. In desperation, they paid the raiders vast sums of silver to leave. This tribute became known across Europe as the Danegeld. To gather it, kingdoms built the first lasting systems of taxation. Officials counted households and lands to raise the endless payments. Thus, the Viking threat forged the roots of organized government. In 911, the Frankish king tried a bolder solution to the raids. He granted the Norse leader Rollo a stretch of coastal land. That land became Normandy, home of the Northmen who settled and farmed it. Rollo's descendants took Frankish speech, faith, and customs as their own. Within a few generations, these raiders became polished Norman knights. In 1066, their duke, William, claimed the vacant throne of England. He gathered a fleet echoing the longships of his Norse ancestors. At Hastings, Norman cavalry and archers broke the English shield wall. William was crowned king, and Norman lords remade the whole island. They raised stone castles and recorded every field in the Domesday Book. Norman French reshaped English law, language, and its ruling elite. So a Viking bargain for Normandy quietly forged the England we know today.